All right, it is UFC President Dana White getting ready for UFC 278 this Saturday night, August 20th in Salt Lake City. Dana, we got Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards in the main event, of course. I got to ask you, Kamaru, look at what he's trying to do. 6 title defense of the welterweight division, but potentially tying Anderson Silva's record of 16 straight UFC victories, which I'll be honest, I didn't think anybody was ever going to tie that record. All the talk now is he the greatest of all time at welterweight? But I want to get your opinion on that because George St. Pierre has an argument. He had 9 title defenses, so he defended the title a little bit longer, and he did it against 9 different guys. So where do you stand?
Yeah, I don't think there's any denying that he's the greatest welterweight of all time. The question is he up there with everybody else? You know what I mean? He's up there with John Jones and Anderson Silva and GSP. He's one of the greatest of all time. He's already the greatest welterweight. There's no denying that.
So you put him past George St. Pierre, even though he doesn't have as many title defenses yet?
Look at all the people. Look at who he's beat. Look at the guys that he's beat, and he's coming around to beat him again for a second time. He's lapping guys that are just nasty. Yeah. And the best being Colby Covington. I mean, if Kamaru Usman does not exist, Colby Covington is the world champ. And he beat him twice. I mean, you can't deny it. And it's always a little unfair looking at different eras, you know what I mean? And he's undefeated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's ever beat him in the UFC. Won the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, you can't deny it. I know people want to hate on Usman and everybody loves GSP. It's a fact.
Yeah, it's 1A and 1B at the worst, right? I mean, they're both right there. It's a great argument to have. Now, let me ask you about Kamaru. He's saying he wants to go up to 205 pounds. I mean, I commend the confidence. This guy wanted to box Canelo as well, but I mean, those are monsters at 205. So when you hear a guy say that, I mean, has he talked directly to you about it? And do you think, wow, that's amazing that he wants these challenges? Or do you think, what are you doing, bro? That would be crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. You know, he's never said that to me. But, I mean, when you look at those guys, you know, you're looking at, you know, Prohaska, Glover, Jan, Magomed. I mean, these guys are fucking monsters. Yeah. I think that's a bad idea. I mean, the guys at middleweight are big. I mean, when you start talking about, you know, Cannonier, Whitaker, Vittori, Israel.
Some monsters.
Those are scary guys at that weight.
Well, listen, he's got Leon Edwards up. Yeah, don't let that guy hit you with the left hand. All right.
You got a guy like Brunson who can wrestle too. You know what I mean? Tough one.
Well, he's doing great at 170. We'll see if we can keep him there. All right, we got Leon Edwards up next. I want to ask you about Leon, right? 6 different bout cancellations, the no contest via the eye poke. I mean, the guy he's been snake bit the last couple of years. So I'm just curious what you make of him and his character, you know, to kind of keep battling through all these unfortunate situations to be here right now and seemingly with a lot of confidence.
Yeah, he's had a serious bad luck streak for sure, man. But here he is. He's going into Salt Lake City, sold out venue, tons of hype behind this fight, you know, and he can come in with the storybook ending and stop him from beating Anderson Silva's record.
See, that's what I wonder. Is this a potential trap fight for Kamaru, right? I mean, everybody's saying he's the greatest of all time. He's already beat this guy before. He's taken movie roles. He's shown up to press conferences in a suit with no shirt on. You know what I mean? He's feeling himself. Is this a potential trap fight where, like, Edwards for 7 years has been grinding away in the darkness, getting better, like waiting to have this one fight?
Well, we've seen this story happen fucking over and over and over again. And let me tell you this, if I was Kamaru Usman, I wouldn't even fucking own a shirt. Okay. I'd save my money and spend it on other things. A shirt is something I would not fucking ever have on if I was Kamaru
Usman. Fair point there. All right. Last thing I want to ask you about the main event. This ties into next month's pay-per-view as well, right? UFC 279 in Las Vegas. You got Khamzat versus Nate in a big welterweight fight. Here's what I'm wondering. I mean, we got to get through this weekend, but are you viewing next month as a potential number 1 contender fight should Khamzat Chimaev win, right? I mean, he's number 3. He's got all the hype in the world. If he beats Nate, do you view him as potentially the next guy for this main event winner?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, if Nate beat Khamzat Chimaev, the number 3 guy in the world, you'd have to look at Nate too. You know what I mean? Everybody's talking. I just got off the phone with, I don't know who the hell was just asking me that. Like that, it's impossible for Nate Diaz to win this fight. Nothing is impossible in fighting. Everything is possible. Nate Diaz wanted this fight. It was either this fight or Francis Ngannou. This fight makes a lot more sense than Francis does. But, for everybody to think that a veteran who's as durable as Nate Diaz can't win this fight is insane. So anything is possible.
Yep. I can't wait for that one. We'll talk about that in a few weeks. The later rounds of that fight could get real interesting. So
100%.
Let's talk.
You get out of the first 2 rounds and the fight gets interesting.
It's a different fight at that point. All right, co-main event this week. You got Luke Rockhold returning from 3 years away. Paulo Costa actually hasn't won a fight in 3 years, which is crazy. I mean, this fight on paper looks like it should be amazing, but there's so many question marks around it, right? So, I mean, what are you expecting out of this? And are you nervous about the way this thing will look? I mean, these are 2 great guys, but they've just had some ups and downs lately. What are you thinking about this co-main?
Well, listen, I think this co-main is going to be crazy. I think it's going to be a very fun fight. That's why it's a co-main event. Both these guys get in there and they start to bang, and it should be fun.
So Luke Rockhold, former UFC champ, former Strikeforce champ, he's saying, look, I beat Costa. You got to start talking about me for the title right away. I mean, that's a big win. If he looks good, I mean, we know we got a title fight lined up. You got a couple other names up there, but does he enter the discussion? I mean, is he at least in the conversation if he wins impressively?
Paulo Costa is ranked number 6 in the world. To say that if he beats Paulo Costa, and he got beat by the champion in 2.3 seconds. And I mean, this is normal Rockhold babble. But if he wants to sit out and wait for a title shot, knock yourself out.
All right, let me ask you about the flip side of that. Paulo Costa, the last time out, he had that weird weight class change against Vettori and all that nonsense that went on. Did you have hesitancy in booking him in a middleweight fight again? I mean, was there, did you make him go through any extra steps, or was there anything extra that had to happen here to get this done at middleweight?
There are some guys that you deal with that, there's always some type of issue or something going on. We're used to this stuff. So no, I don't worry. I don't worry much anymore. We just roll with it and figure it out.
I love it. Listen, this fight, I don't know if I've ever been more uncertain about what we're going to see. I mean, just so many question marks around both guys. But in your head, you think this one's going to be, a one-round crazy madness? And what kind of fight do you think we see in this one?
You never know. You never know what you're going to get with these guys. But I expect if they both show up and do what they're both capable of doing, it should be a very fun fight.
All right, the last fight I got to ask you about, we're talking about greatest of all times and where they rank. Jose Aldo, man, you talk 14 years under the Zuffa banner at this point. He's on a 3-fight win streak right now. I mean, one of the greatest of all time at featherweight. Now he's trying to be a 2-division champ. What do you make of Jose Aldo, at 35? I mean, looking as good as ever in a lower weight class.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest ever, period. The fact that if you look at how long that guy dominated and how old he is now and how long he's been around, the wars that he's been in, and he's ranked number 3 in the world right now, is very impressive. So, Jose Aldo is one of the greatest of all time.
It's an honor to watch him fight. Now, here's what I want to ask you about Merab Dvalishvili, because he's on a 7-fight win streak, and it just seems like his name, it's never mentioned. When people start talking about all the names in that deep bantamweight division, they don't mention Merab. So what do you make of him at this point? Because he's kind of been like the quiet guy in the background who is on a 7-fight winning streak. I mean, he wins this fight, you got to start talking about him, right?
Well, you're absolutely right. Well, this is it. I mean, this is his moment. The guy's been chipping away, built this win streak. You beat Jose Aldo, who is the number 3 ranked guy in the world. People are going to start talking about you on Sunday.
Yeah, it's a big moment for him. Since we're talking about bantamweight, I did want to ask you real quickly, Dana, what did you think of Cheeto Vera's knockout of Dominic Cruz? Because, Dominic was winning the fight up to that point. He was looking pretty good, and then Cheeto caught him, and he's a guy that people are starting to talk about as well. Yeah,
I mean, that fight in San Diego was awesome. That card was in the middle of the day. early fights, but it felt like a pay-per-view when you were there inside the arena. It was awesome. The fans were awesome. The fights were incredible. And, that fight was fun because you saw Cruz doing what Cruz does. But he got clipped, 3 times before. You could tell Cheeto Vera was being very patient, taking his time, and felt confident that he was eventually going to catch up with him and get him. And he did.
So listen, he did. And that makes it so interesting at 135 because we know we've got Sterling Dillashaw. We've got Jan O'Malley, which is a crazy fight. We got Sandhagen, Song Yadong. Cheeto is right there now. But here's what I want to ask you. If Aldo wins this weekend, I mean, you got a lot of options there, but would he have the inside track, you think, just based on his tenure with the company, what he's accomplished? I mean, because there's a lot of big fights coming up in that division. I think everybody's trying to figure out, who sorts out at the top as the number 1 contender. So would Aldo have the inside track just given everything that he's accomplished?
Well, that's what's fun. The fact is, I actually get to sit back and watch and see how these fights play out and then make the decision after. I mean, the last thing I'm thinking of right now is who's next. We've already got all these fights lined up in the bantamweight division. So let these things play out, see how they end and figure out what's next.
I know you didn't want to rush Sean O'Malley, but if he won, would you at least consider him and be like, is he ready for a title shot? Because, I mean, you beat Jan.
Yeah, I mean, it's not – I don't know. Again, you got to see how this thing plays out. And when we're talking about rushing him, I mean, if you look at the fights the guy's had, and his age, his record, he should be ready.
I love it. 135 is great. I will. Hey, Sean O'Malley and the Cheeto Vera rematch would be a good one as well. They got a little history. They don't kind of like each other all that much. That'd be a hell of a fight too.
I mean, he's one of those guys that hits so hard, anything is possible.
I love it. Bantamweight is stacked right now. All right, Danny. Well, I appreciate it, man. I know you got a lot to do, and it's a busy week. I look forward to seeing you out in Salt Lake City. Last question I asked, I guess you touched on. I was going to ask you, does the streak continue? Does the sellout streak continue? Is it already sold out? Or we got a few tickets left? What are we doing?
Sold out, broke the record in San Diego for sporting events. And yes, Salt Lake City will be sold out too. We're sold out. It's not, you can still get tickets right now, but if you look at where we are leading up to the fight, it's a sellout. It's going to sell out. So we might go the rest of the year and sell out the entire year. It's pretty crazy.
That's amazing. Well, congrats on that, Dana. I appreciate the time, and I'll see you in Salt Lake City.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.